Well, it is almost here. Our winter weather event, if you want to call it that, is nigh upon us. Welcome in, everyone, to this live stream of our North Texas winter weather event, which will be start to unfold after midnight. We're going to go through all the details, all the particulars, what you're wanting to know. If you have questions, put those in the chat. I'll be happy to answer those the best I can. So kind of give you an agenda. What we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about current conditions, what we're seeing right now. Then we're going to talk about what our current watches and warnings are, advisories. Then we're going to look at models. We're going to look at precipitation types. We're going to look at snowfall maps to try to make some sense out of this mess, which it will be a mess in more ways than one. A mess from a models standpoint, a mess from a precipitation standpoint. I'll just go ahead and say this. As I've said the last couple of morning updates, the models have trended warmer than they were earlier in the week. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to snow. It's not going to snow everywhere. And as a general rule of thumb, if you're south of I-20 and watching this, then you're probably not going to see a whole lot. You're going to see rain. It's going to be wet. You probably won't see a lot of frozen precipitation. Now, just because you're north of I-20, which includes obviously Dallas-Fort Worth proper and points north, it doesn't mean you're going to see 12 inches of snow either. So it's just a really complicated setup. And as I talked about many times, these winter weather events in North Texas are almost always complicated. They're hardly ever cut and dry. Probably the one exception would be back in 2010, 2011, when we had 10 inches of snow. That setup ended up being pretty simple in the sense that, yeah, all it did was snow. There was no sleet. There was no freezing rain, anything like that. And so that's the thing. Probably the big takeaway from this update tonight is in the Metroplex North Texas area, all the way from the Red River down to Hillsboro, Corsicana, there's going to be all four types of precipitation: rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow. Now, again, as a general rule of thumb, the further south you are, the more you'll see of the freezing rain variety. Further north you are, the more snow you're going to see. Now that line, like always, where that line of transition is from snow to sleet, freezing rain, and rain, is the key to whether you see a white Thursday and white early Friday morning, or whether you see nothing but rain. And let's be honest, this storm has been hyped up pretty good by people. And if you didn't see any snow out of this, yeah, I'd probably be disappointed too. So let's walk through the particulars. All right, so first and foremost, as you can see on the screen, this is from my weather station at my house, 34 degrees. Pretty doggone cold out there, but if you notice, there's no wind. So the wind out of the north we've had the last few days has subsided, and that was to be expected. Now what we're going to start to see is the wind turn around to the south, and that's actually going to pull some of this lower level of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico up to North Texas, which will help enhance our precipitation rates. Now again, whether it's frozen or not will depend on the temperature, among other things. All right, so let's go over the current watches and warnings and advisories. So what we have here is we have the National Weather Service graphic, which the National Weather Service always does a really good job. In the pink is the winter storm warning. So that's where, as a general rule of thumb, you would expect to see 2 to 5 inches of snow. Pretty wide range there because, again, it's still up in the air on how much you would see anywhere in that pink area. Now, like I said, as a general rule of thumb, the further north and east you are, the better chances you have of seeing the 5-inch variety. If not, then you're down to closer to 2 or 1 inches. So that's the winter storm warning. Dallas County, Collin County, Tarrant County, all the counties north of Dallas and Tarrant County and east, winter storm warning. Where you see the purple, if you will, is the winter weather advisory, and that's where we're expecting more of the mixed precipitation, rain, snow, maybe some freezing rain, sleet, and those amounts aren't really expected to be too bad. And then, of course, when you get way down south to Waco, just good old-fashioned rain. So if you're headed south, if you're traveling anywhere tomorrow, especially if you're going north and east, be very cautious. If you're going south, you just won't have any problems. So that's the current warnings and advisories. Now, as you can kind of see, we'll go to the next one here. So The next one is snowfall amounts. Now, again, this is the official National Weather Service forecast. We're going to look at some other models here in a minute, but this is the National Weather Service official forecast of snow amounts. And as you can see in the yellow dashed line north and east of that, Sherman, Paris, again, where they're expecting the most snow. It might be a little hard to read, but this isolated snow amounts of 8 inches or more, 10% chance would be within that area if everything plays out like we think. And then you can see kind of south here in DFW, again, you're talking about the 2 to 5 inch range. And then if you get if you get south of the pink dash line, and not much really from a frozen precipitation standpoint. Now, so as I said, North Texas as a whole is going to see all 4 types of precipitation. Not every one location is going to see all 4, but in general, all of North Texas is going to see all 4. And so where we do see any freezing rain of any significance, then there will be some icing issues. I just, right now, it could change, but right now I don't see significant icing anywhere to where it'd be like an ice skating rink. But there could be some areas, especially localized areas, where if you got that rain that froze on contact, then that would cause some issues. We're hoping that's not a big deal. And speaking of that, that's kind of what this map shows, is that where you see the orange, a 15th of an inch of ice on trees, cars, things like that. In the yellow, up to a 10th of an inch, which means it's more isolated as far as slick spots. And it especially would be true on elevated surfaces and things like that. Of course, where you see the white, not really expecting any icing impacts at all. Again, that's not a big factor in all this, but it could be a factor, especially if you get these isolated bursts of freezing rain. That would cause problems. Speaking of problems, so here is travel impacts. Most of our school districts in this area are closed tomorrow and Friday. I probably Friday because of the impact Thursday we have on Friday morning. And so, and this is why, because I think when you wake up in the morning, for most of us, and we're going to look at some models to kind of see what they say, you're going to see not a whole lot when you wake up. Some of you may wake up, depending on where you're at, some of you may wake up and it may be dry, cloudy, but dry. And hey, what's all the big deal? What's all the fuss about? So that will not stay that way, obviously. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the rain, the snow, the sleet, freezing rain. It will eventually get your way as the morning goes on. So as you can see, this graphic, DFW, you got Sherman, Denison, DFW, and so forth. DFW expecting low impacts at 6 a.m. and then medium impacts the rest of the event up near Sherman, Denison. When you get into Thursday night, high impacts, and Paris, the same thing. Again, that's based on the fact that there would be potentially 5 to 10 inches, or up to 8 inches, I should say, in isolated spots up in those areas. So from an overall timing standpoint, we're getting up on early Thursday after midnight. You'll see this precipitation southwest of us. Then you'll see this mixed precipitation DFW south, and then snow north. And then Thursday night, the snow creeps down into DFW. And then, of course, Friday morning, everything's going to move out. So I will say that, as you'll see here in a second, we will have this transition, Thursday, late Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, Friday morning, overnight Friday. It's when I think DFW will have the biggest chance of seeing accumulating snow. Not initially, but probably during that time frame. All right, so let's look at a radar first. There we go. Okay, so I just showed this radar just because kind of give you an idea of what's going on currently. This is actually a radar out of Lubbock. And you can see these returns, and probably put this in motion. And again, the general movement east-northeast. Most of this precipitation, based on temperatures and humidity out there, is probably not all reaching the ground. But it does show you that at least right now, the mid-levels of the atmosphere are starting to moisten up. So that'll be the trend we see as the night goes on, especially after midnight. And you can even see here, this is just the general thunderstorm outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. And what that just means is that, you could even see a few lightning strikes with this activity. As you can see, though, the instability would wane as it gets into North Texas. So we're not really expecting, at this time anyway, we're not expecting thunder snow or thunder sleet or anything like that. Although it's not out of the realm of possibility. All right, so now let's look at some models. If I could get... There we go. Okay, so there's a ton of models out there, and talked about that on Monday. It's something that you could get caught up in pretty quick. And as I said, too, on Monday, you can find any model you want to show what you want. You can find the model that's showing 12 inches of snow downtown Dallas. You can also find a model that has rain for all of North Texas and no snow for anybody. So you got to take those with a grain of salt. So nobody is really buying either extreme of those solutions. It's always somewhere in the middle, right? So we're gonna walk through that. All right. So this is a European model, the Euro model, that everybody's cause celebrate the last few days. It showed the most snow. As I mentioned before, all the models, including the Euro, have kind of trended down, warmer a little bit with their snow. But we'll kind of go this frame of frame. This is a model. Again, looking in the future, models aren't perfect by any means. This is at 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. And so you can see the snow and mixed precipitation out in West Texas, and the current radar, of course, kind of starts to reflect that already. And then we're just going to fast forward to, that's 6 a.m. So if you were to believe the Euro, and by the way, the blue is rain. The pink-ish, if you will, is freezing rain. The orange is sleet, and the kind of this yellow-green color is rain mixed with snow, and of course white snow. So to kind of give you an idea. So this is 6 a.m. So again, according to the European model, it'll be west of us, but not much is going on as of that time. 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, the green is rain with snow. And this is going through 1 p.m. and through the afternoon. Again, no really big transition over to rain and snow. And again, remember the blue in this case is all rain. And then you start to see, this is actually midnight. And then overnight into Friday, you see more of the pure snow. And then by 9 a.m., all the snow is gone. That is the European model. Now let's look at the HRRR, which again is more famous or infamous, if you will, as predicting severe thunderstorms. But it does have a winter component to it. And so that's what we'll use today. So again, here is 1 a.m. Again, the same sort of general thing starting out in West Texas. On this map, the pink, purple is freezing rain. The blue is rain, and the orange is sleet. So this would be 7 a.m. right before sunrise. So again, rain, sleet, freezing rain mix. This is, at least right now, this is sort of the most accepted model solution that might happen. So this would be a true mix of precipitation, no snow, but rain, freezing rain, sleet, and just those are the modes. Which again, depending on the temperature, I know it's hard to see here, but this model is predicting a temperature at Dallas at 32 degrees, so right there. And then 8, 9, 10. So again, the orange in this case is sleet, and then the white snow. And then so about 2 p.m. This is the HRRR. It's gonna be raining. No frozen at all, 34 degrees. Now, again, much like the Euro model said, as we get into sunset, I should say, overnight, then you get into the all snow. And then you get into 2, 3, 4, and then this 5, 6, and sunrise Friday. And again, much like the Euro, everything's out of here by about sunrise. Well, what's the GFS say? Well, we'll back this up. And again, this is 1 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Again, same thing. Precipitation out in West Texas. And then, went a little fast there. So that's 6 a.m. So again, a mixed bag of precipitation. This is the purple here is freezing rain. And then snow, this is in the afternoon hours. So remember, the HRRR really has it all rain. The GFS has us as more snow during the day. And then a little rain creeping in, but then snow pretty much almost the whole time. And then again, Friday morning. So if you're a big snow fan for Dallas-Fort Worth, then you're rooting for the GFS. All right, so now let's do the NAM. This is the North American model. And this is the one that's been the most depending on your perspective, the most bearish, bullish on no snow. So let's run through. This is the latest ones we have. And again, out in West Texas, no hardly any snow. Just really the orange here is freezing rain. Sleet. Sorry, the purple is freezing rain. So this is, let me go back one. This is 6 a.m. right before sunrise. So western part of the Metroplex, again, a mixed bag of precipitation, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mixed bag, rain. So it kind of models the HRRR. And then that's 4 p.m. tomorrow, rain almost everywhere. And then as we get, again, 10 p.m., snow. So even the pessimistic NAM has snow after sunset tomorrow. And then again, Friday morning, we move it on out. And then lastly, just for grins, it's not a very reliable model most of the time, but the German model, icon, as we call it. Again, so 1 a.m. out in West Texas. The yellowish is rain snow mix, and blue rain, white snow. I'm sorry. Okay, 6 a.m., nothing much going on. 7, 8, 9, rain. Noon, 1, rain for most of us, not the northwest part of the Metroplex. And if the German model says, hey, if you're in Denton, you'll get a ton of snow. If you're south of Denton, you won't get anything. And then as we get into the overnight area hours on Thursday into Friday morning, same general thing. The German model never switches us over to all snow, just rain, snow mix. And then again, it moves out. So you can kind of see a pattern here on what we're looking at. We're looking at, if you take the blended models, if you blend them all together, basically, and that's why you see the forecast reflecting that, is that you see basically tomorrow morning, depending on where you're at, could start out dry, but if it starts out, it probably won't start out to be much, at least from an impactful standpoint. Rain, snow, sleet, freezing rain mix. And the more optimistic model for snow, the GFS, would say, hey, it's going to pretty much, it switches over around lunchtime. It'll be snow for the whole event until Friday morning. Excuse me, the more pessimistic NAM, North American model, is that, we may start out a little bit with mixed precipitation early, but then it's going to rain during the daylight hours, it's going to rain the whole time, even up into the Sherman area. And then toward the end, after midnight, when the temperatures cool back down, we'll get some snow, and then that'll be the end of it. So I will say this. So the general thought is mixed precipitation in the morning. Could be that in the afternoon hours, and then snow at the end. So I think the two things are probably the most certain right now, which of course that could change, is that you'll have a mixed precipitation bag early in the morning, and then you'll have snow from about sunset tomorrow into Friday morning. Most of the models have some form of that. They're pretty confident in it. Where we get the, I don't know, is really after sunrise, between sunrise and sunset tomorrow. Is it going to be a mix all day? Is it going to be just rain all day? Or is it going to be snow all day? That is kind of the window that we're not really sure about. So I think, if nothing else, this time tomorrow, most locations, unless these models really flip on us, most locations tomorrow night, you'll see snow pretty much wherever you're at in North Texas. And if that's the case, Friday morning you'll wake up and it'll be really pretty. Let's hope so. All right, well, speaking of that, if we're going to wake up to white, well, how much are we going to wake up to? Well, let's look at that. All right, so don't want that one. There we go. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. All right, so I hesitate to show this because it really gets you excited. So let me explain a few things. So this is Euro model. Remember, this is the GFS actually is a little bit more bullish on snow than the Euro is. They've kind of flip-flopped on that. But for now, this is Euro and the European model. And so I just put this up here. This is the total snowfall map at the end of the event. So it kind of takes from now until even Saturday, this is what's going to fall. So a couple of caveats with this. So if you look at, downtown Dallas, 7 inches, but if you're up in McKinney, 11 inches, if you will. And then pretty much all the Metroplex would have at least 5 inches. Now, you have to be, the thing that's misleading about this is that this 10-to-1 ratio for moisture, and most of our snow is not that dry. And so we typically have an 8-to-1 ratio with wet snow. So when you assume that it's not 10-to-1 and it's 8-to-1, then even if this all verifies from a snowfall standpoint, it won't be this much accumulation. Now, it's going to be a percentage of that. So it is, I don't have the math in front of me. It's kind of complicated, but instead of 7 inches, it might be 4 inches. It's everything else with the models are the same. So it's a little misleading, but basically I like to show this because you can see where this purple pink band is where you would see the heavier snow bands. All right. So, okay. So let's look at our other pro snow model, the GFS. So again, matter of fact, I don't know if we can use a Kachara. Yeah, we can. All right. The Kachara is a little more accurate for this part of the Metroplex. It assumes a lower snow ratio. So again, instead of McKinney having 11, they got 5, Dallas 4. And so these are a little bit more accurate based on the type of snow that's going to fall. So again, the Euro and the GFS are your two pro snow models. So if those verify, then, and that's where you could kind of remember it's going to snow most of the day tomorrow, then that's where that would come in. All right, now the HRRR, excuse me, was kind of in the middle. Had a little bit of rain in the afternoon. So again, as you can imagine, lower totals using the Kachara formula. What's the other one we'll look at? Now the NAM, which remember the NAM was kind of the model that didn't want it to snow. I want it to rain all afternoon. You can see these snow totals aren't really impressive. An inch, 2 inches in McKinney. That's quite the difference. 2 inches, 11 inches. So that kind of reflects what the model's seeing. And I think for fun, this is the, I don't want that one. There we go. This is the UK model. They still show 7 inches McKinney, 2.5 in Dallas. That was not what we looked at before, but just for grins. What is it? This is the other German model, the short range model, and this was always a fun one for me. So 12 inches in Fort Worth, 11, 16 in McKinney. I don't see that. It'd be cool if it happened, but I just don't see that. But again, if you look at all these snowfall projection maps, you can kind of see the area Dallas, Fort Worth, and Northeast along I-30 snowstorm, they might call it. It's where at least we're anticipating seeing the most snow. All right. So, So I was looking in the chat. Hey, Jeff, how are you, sir? Jeff says, how far south from Dallas is this weather going to extend? Great question, Jeff. And hello, by the way, my fellow mob band mate from years ago. This, even though these snowfall totals you see up here aren't probably going to verify, the demarcation line of snow in south is actually probably pretty accurate. So I would say that really right now, once you get, conservatively, if you get Ennis, Hillsboro, Waxahachie south, you're fine. But if it even extends a little bit further south than that, I would say Corsicana, Waco, no matter what setup happens, you're fine. It's just going to be all liquid. So if you, like I said in the very beginning, if you're going south, then you're not really going to have any problems. Other than driving in the rain. That's no fun, especially when it's 35 degrees outside. But it's going south is going to be fine. Hopefully that answered your question. All right. I don't see anything else in the chat. So, I don't think this will change a ton of what we talked about in a general sense. I mean, now, am I going to be shocked if it does change? Yeah. I mean, no, I should say, because I've lived in. Oh, I'm getting tired. I've lived in North Texas long enough to where it can change. And I remember growing up, you go to bed and your youngest is a Conroe. Oh yeah, he's fine. yeah, Conroe's just gonna good old fashioned rain. Um, they would probably freak out in Conroe if they got it snow. Anyway, as I was saying, as a kid, you would, you'd go to bed. Of course, there's no internet, there's not anything like that. And hey, we may have a snow day tomorrow. And by the way, and no, I'm not knocking anybody today, but school was never canceled before. It was always the morning of, and if it was even canceled at all. And so you go to bed and you were just hoping and praying that as a kid when you woke up, it'd be white outside. And probably if you grew up in North Texas, more times than not, you woke up and it was not white. And even if it was kind of dicey, you had to wait on the scroll at the bottom of the newscast with all the districts scrolling across. Are you closed? Did you have delays? Things like that. And of course, if you grew up in Garland ISD, then you're always waiting for the G's to come around. And I remember when I was a kid, I mean, yes, we missed days for snow, so it's not like we never were closed, but it seemed like more times than not we weren't closed when other districts were. And then you'd be looking at that scroll across the bottom, and then you get to the G's, and you wouldn't see Garland, but you see Granbury or something. It's like, dang it, Granbury's always closed. So that was kind of funny. We did not have that. We did not have that problem. Yes, Nicole, you're right. Hey, Kim. Yeah, only time we watch the news as kids. Yeah, pretty much. I wasn't watching the news except for that. Yeah, Jeff, never GSD. Yeah, you remember those days to where it seemed like everybody was closed but Garland ISD. And I'm pretty sure that was more often than not. And then we'd have to get out of bed and get ready for school. And yeah, that was kind of a bummer. But anyway, we did not have that problem tonight, or in this day and age. And I don't know, though. It's probably good old days syndrome, but I don't know. It was kind of fun to have some mystery to it sometimes. But yeah, obviously bus schedules and, campuses starting at different times. Yeah, you can't take that old approach, obviously. Okay. Anything else? I really appreciate everybody tuning in. I know there's a lot of weather information out there, and ranges everywhere from the TV networks, of course, to other social media gurus, if you will, that do the weather, and that's fine. And I watch some of them myself. So, but I what I hope you get out of my briefings is just kind of a no nonsense, no hype, no panic meter, no scaring or anything like that. Just kind of being realistic as I can, and so I hope that's what you get out of it. I hope that's why you're tuning in, because that's really what I shoot for. It's just kind of, hey, the facts as I see them. And obviously I'm wrong sometimes, but, and also too, more from an information standpoint and education standpoint, and, when I get on and talk about severe weather, obviously that's from an awareness standpoint and, safety standpoint. So I appreciate everybody tuning in to watch that. Yeah, just glad March's season was over. Yeah, Jeff. Yeah, we didn't have to worry about that during March's season. I think the only thing we had to worry about was being hot all the time. That's for sure. With the Bickerstaff family was fortunate, blessed, if it's how you look at it. All three of my kids, Nathan, my youngest, is still in marching band at Saxony High School. And yeah, so it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was fun to relive some of that. And it's fun to see those kids grow together and be part of a team. And a lot of extracurricular activities are like that. So whether it's band or choir or track or football or whatever, yeah, it's a really neat experience to be part of a extracurricular activity. And yes, I am biased toward band. Yeah, you're welcome, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, I don't do the scare beater stuff. I just don't think that's, this doesn't serve any kind of, meaningful purpose. That's for sure. All right. So before we wrap things up, let's just do a quick review. All right. So when we started, the temperature was 34.2. The temperature is 33.6. So as you can tell, the temperature is going down. We will be below freezing probably before midnight. It's hard to see, but the dew point Monday when we did this, dew point was 8. Dew point here is 21. And again, that just shows you that there's more moisture in the lower levels. It's increasing. Nicole, the band got to wear a lot more clothes than the Debs. Yeah, you are right. That is a great point, Nicole. And by the way, I because toward the later in the season, in the marching season, we would have those cold games, and I swear, man, y'all, it seemed like y'all were wearing the same thing. And I always thought y'all were cold, so I bet you were. Yeah, I always wondered about that. Hey, Andrew, how are you, sir? Andrew's kind of not to give away where he lives, obviously, but Andrew's north of here, so he may get more snow than we do in Dallas Fort Worth. Or heck, the way the weather models are sometimes, we may get more. That's how crazy the weather is sometimes. Anyway, so again, you're going to see the temperature drop below freezing probably before midnight, and but I don't think this morning, the last couple mornings, it's been in the mid to low 20s. We're not going to see that, but we'll probably see upper 20s. Again, depending on where you're at, and I think that's the key to everything. Are you freezing, Nicole? Okay, I'm not surprised. You sure look like y'all were. But as far as the temperatures go, these models, as we talked about, showed a lot of mixed precipitation in the beginning. And I think a lot of that's because of what the temperature is going to be. And the best guess is at any one location, it's probably going to be right around freezing, maybe a little below. And so that's going to affect greatly what kind of weather you're going to have at your location. And the other thing is, I would say, is as because of everything's just kind of on this borderline, weather conditions will actually be quite different across very short distances. So you could have one location that's experiencing snow, and then a location that's 2, 3, 4, 5 miles away might be having rain or sleet or freezing rain. So that's something else too. So that's kind of what we're going to be, not only in a general sense, we're going to fight what kind of precipitation we're going to have, but actually across very localized areas, it will change very fast. So that's why it's impossible to predict, with any kind of certainty, pick a location, McKinney, Greenville, Denton, downtown Dallas, just pick one. It's impossible to know exactly how your day is going to go tomorrow from start to finish. Like I said, it might start out with mixed precipitation. It may snow all day. It may rain all day. And then, like I said, I think the only thing that's semi-certain in this scenario is that after sunset tomorrow, it'll probably be all snow for most of us. At least I hope, because that'll be pretty. Hey, Andrew, I've been taking a break from social media, so I'm missing all the weather breakdowns. Haha. Probably good for your health. Taking a break from social media. Nicole says, any lake area issues? Not that I know of, but if you want to be a little bit more specific, maybe I can answer that better. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. But yeah, so like I said, it just depends on where you're at, on what you'll see exactly at any one time tomorrow. All right, so let's do a couple more wrap-ups here. I want that one. There we go. All right, so again, this is the radar from Lubbock in West Texas, and again, starting to see some returns. A lot of this is not reaching the ground, but some of it is, especially in the yellow. And that's put this in motion. That is headed our way. And that will only increase as it gets closer. And actually, we'll put the Midland radar on there. Again, not much different. Now, that's Abilene radar. Now, again, these returns aren't going to show up that much. San Angelo, again. Now, remember, too, the other thing is, as a radar beam goes this way, it goes up higher in the air. So that's why these returns are these are mid-level returns, as we call them, and they're not reaching the ground. Remember that dew point is 20? That's why. And then from the Fort Worth radar, again, it's up at 12, 13,000 feet when the radar beam gets this far away. And again, so, this would be Virga, snow falling that's not reaching the ground. So, but again, it's an indication that things are changing. Okay, so with that, let's do this before we wrap it up. All right, so we'll just go over this real quick, especially if you just joined us. Of course, you can watch this on replay. I'll cut it out a little bit, and that way, although most of it will still be there. Winter storm warning again for the areas in pink. That's Dallas, Fort Worth, areas points north and east. Winter weather advisory in the purple. That's for not much, but that's for lesser amounts of snow and sleet and a little bit more ice probably. Again, this is all expected to start sunrise tomorrow, peak tomorrow after sunset into Friday morning, and then be out of here by Friday. Now, if it precipitates a lot, the after effects won't be out of here. That's for sure. Again, the most likely snow, Sherman, Paris. That could change. Either way, it could go north or south. DFW on average 2 to 5 inches. Not really exactly sold on that yet. Not saying it won't do anything, but I don't know if it'll be that much. And then ice is more of a concern in general, southwest to northeast, south of Dallas Fort Worth. And then these impacts will start for some of us 6 a.m. Be worse between noon and 6 a.m. on Friday for most of us. And then the graphic again, southwest of us mixed on pre-dawn tomorrow, Thursday during the day, mixed bag for most of us, snow north, rain south. And then Thursday night, the snow line creeps to the southeast, and then Friday morning, it moves off to the northeast. So that's kind of the gist of everything. Oh, lake effect. Okay. Oh, great question, Nicole. So no, we won't have any lake effect snow issues with this system. But however, on Monday morning, we didn't have any ultimate lake effect snows, but we did have some lake effect clouds. I don't know, gotta have clouds where we have snow, right? And the reason we had that Monday morning is because we had as you remember, we had a really stiff northwest wind going northwest and southeast over Lake Louisville, Lake Texoma, Lake Tawakoni, and to a lesser extent, because they're smaller lakes, Lake Lavon and Lake Ray Hubbard. And so downwind of that, south and southeast, the lake is certainly not frozen. They never really freeze over except in the extreme winter. And so the lake waters are much warmer relatively than the air. And so that's when you get the wind takes that moisture, pulls it up, and shoots it to the south of the lake. Much like the lake effect snows you hear about in the Midwest on a much smaller scale. Now, having said that, we will have, and there wasn't quite enough moisture on Monday. It was pretty dry. And so, but if we had a little bit more moisture in the air on Monday morning, we would have saw actually some lake effect snow flurries probably. We won't have any lake effect snows here in this scenario. Again, great question. Because one, the wind won't be near strong. It won't really be strong at all tomorrow. 5 miles an hour less. It'd be out of the south. So even if we did, it'd be on the other direction. And there just won't be enough of a difference to cause lake effect snows. And quite frankly, even if there was, the bigger system would kind of skew all that and cover that up anyway. So, but great question though. And we have had that before when it's been, but it has to be really good. Typically for us to get that temperature set to be around 20, even maybe a little colder to get true lake effect snows, because it just has to really be cold in comparison to the lake. But great question, like I said. All right. So again, that's kind of what we're dealing with for our winter weather for Dallas Fort Worth. In summary, as we close, nothing's going to happen between now and at the very earliest, if you're watching west of Dallas Fort Worth, nothing's going to happen before 4 or 5 o'clock. So if you happen to have things to do, do them tonight. And no, I don't think you have to go panic buy anything. This is not going to be a 2021 redo by any means. It's just, I mean, if the roads are kind of crappy tomorrow and early Friday, then if you're not comfortable driving in and out, then you won't be able to go anywhere. But even if that's the case, come Friday afternoon, maybe. But certainly Saturday, things should be fine. So it's not going to be a long protracted event or anything like that. And like I said, the one model that if you're a snow lover that you don't want to have happen come true is the NAM, the North American model, because that pretty much rains the whole time. Even though it has snow at the end, that'd be kind of a bummer. But it has happened in North Texas, so we shall see. Andrew's stores up there have been crazy. I bet they have. I think milk and egg producers in North Texas love a good winter forecast because they sell a lot of product. So let's leave it at that. All right, so I'm going to wrap up it here. I'm going to repost it on my YouTube page, the edited video, which basically just cuts out the first part of the wait, and you can rewatch to your heart's content. And if you have chats after that, I just post them to the video link, the post, and I will answer those best I can. Depending on how it goes tomorrow, may do a live stream tomorrow. Just depends on how the weather's going, and that would hold true tomorrow night. Depends on what's going on. Just but whatever you do, be safe, be careful, especially if you get out. If you had no choice to get out, be careful. And I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate y'all. And as always, I'm watching the weather so you don't have to. Have a safe, warm evening, and we will talk to you soon.